Breaking news. Eagles Nation. The atmosphere behind the scenes of the Philadelphia Eagles is on fire, and I couldn't miss the chance to share this with you. The team is fully locked in on making another run at the Super Bowl, but at the same time, there are some big decisions that need to be made inside the roster. And listen, what I've found out in the last few hours could seriously impact the confidence of the fans. So before we dive into the details, make sure to smash that like button. But if you truly believe the Eagles have what it takes to win another Super Bowl. Honestly, I believe it with all my heart. And if you believe it too, drop it in the comments right now. Go Birds! We're going to the Super Bowl. Now buckle up, because the info I've got is hot, and it could change a lot about what's coming next. Howie Roseman made it clear that the Philadelphia Eagles are far from finished shaping this roster. The initial 53-man squad was announced, but as we know, that number is only a snapshot in time. Roseman himself said, "We're not done here," and emphasized that the front office will continue exploring trades, waiver claims, and veteran free agents. This is classic Howie, relentless, aggressive, and unwilling to settle for anything less than a roster loaded with both stars and depth. In fact, just in the past few weeks, he pulled off multiple trades, including moves for John Mechie and Jacorian Bennett, both of whom could contribute significantly this season. He also brought in quarterback Sam Howell as insurance and added Fred Johnson to strengthen the offensive line. These are not headline-grabbing blockbusters, but exactly the kind of value-driven acquisitions that keep the Eagles competitive year after year. What makes this approach so reassuring for fans is that Roseman has the full backing of owner Jeffrey Lurie. Lurie empowers his general manager to stay aggressive, to push the limits in building and maintaining a championship-caliber roster. The mentality coming from the top is simple: never be content. Roseman himself admitted he never feels satisfied, even in a season as successful as last year's. The Eagles' organizational philosophy is to constantly search for improvement, whether it's September at the trade deadline or even after. That's the type of leadership that keeps the team at the top of the NFL. It's also worth pointing out how this mindset mirrors some of the greatest competitors in sports history. Roseman's drive to continually tweak, refine, and upgrade resonates with the mentality of legends like Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, who were never satisfied with what they had already achieved. They always sought the next challenge, the next improvement. Roseman applies the same philosophy to the Eagles, and that's one reason this franchise has been so consistently competitive under his leadership. Meanwhile, Nick Sirianni joked in his exchange with Roseman, saying Howie hasn't given him the keys just yet.
Roseman shot back with a laugh, noting that the two of them are driving together. That dynamic is critical. A general manager and a head coach aligned in their vision, both working with the shared goal of building not just a good team, but a great one. The collaboration between front office and coaching staff is part of why Philadelphia's foundation feels so stable compared to other franchises. As for roster adjustments, there's a long list of players who were waived, many of them young talents who could be claimed by other teams. Wide receiver Ifa Adai, running back Montreal Johnson, linebacker Lance Dixon, defensive tackle Joe Evans, defensive back Brandon Johnson, quarterback Kyle McCord, wide receiver Taylor Moore, and defensive lineman Holland Pierce are among those subject to waivers. The Eagles also released running back Shonderick Powell, edge rusher Antoine Powell-Ryland, defensive end Jaron Robinson, linebacker Dallas Gant, defensive tackles Justin Rogers and Justin Sykes, and safety Andre Sam. Offensive tackle Akin Vakalahi, part of the International Pathway Program, is also on the list but does not count toward the 53-man limit. Other names include defensive back A.J. Woods, wide receiver Elijah Cooks, tight ends E.J. Jenkins and Cam Latu, running back Keelan Robinson, wide receiver Anaya Smith, and defensive back Tarek Castro Fields, who was released with an injury settlement. Safety Louis Sine, linebacker Ashen Mathis, cornerback Eli Ricks, and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson round out the group. Many of these players may find opportunities elsewhere, given the Eagles' depth across multiple positions. For some, it could be a better path to more playing time on another roster. For others, if they clear waivers, Philadelphia will likely try to bring them back as part of the practice squad. The claim order for these waived players follows the draft order, with Tennessee holding the first chance, followed by Cleveland, the Giants, New England, Jacksonville, and so on. Because the Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl appearance, they're at the very bottom of the claim list, meaning the likelihood of bringing back certain players depends heavily on whether other teams pass on them. Still, Roseman has proven he knows how to maneuver in these situations, and fans can expect him to act quickly if the right opportunity arises. Later today, Philadelphia returns to practice at 2:30 p.m., just after the waiver process concludes. That means several of the players cut on Tuesday could be back on the field Wednesday as part of the practice squad. It's another reminder that the NFL roster process is fluid, with constant changes and adjustments. What looks like a final cut one day might turn into a reunion the next. The larger point here is that this team is not just built to compete today but also structured for flexibility. Roseman values depth and competition, and he is always willing to shake things up to make the Eagles stronger. That's why even though the initial roster has been announced, fans should expect more moves to come. This isn't the finished product, it's a work in progress aimed at giving Philadelphia the best chance to return to the Super Bowl stage. So here's the real question for all of you watching. With the aggressive mindset that Roseman continues to bring, and with so many young players moving on or possibly returning via the practice squad, how do you feel about the way this roster is being constructed? And when you look closer at the list of names who were waived, the challenge becomes clear. This Eagles roster is stacked, so it's no surprise that some players with real potential had to be let go. Take someone like Kyle McCord, for example, a quarterback with solid pre-draft buzz. Teams around the league noticed him, and it wouldn't be shocking if he gets picked up elsewhere. Then there's wide receiver Anaya Smith, whose release raised some eyebrows. Smith has athletic upside, and it speaks to the depth at receiver that he couldn't crack the 53. Brandon Johnson, another defensive back, flashed some good moments in the preseason but ultimately couldn't secure a spot. These are not just camp bodies, these are players who could easily make an impact if given the chance with another organization. That's the reality of having a roster as competitive as Philadelphia's. You simply can't keep everyone. And yet, the front office is already working on how to keep as many of these guys in the system as possible. That's where the practice squad comes in. Several of the names waived on Tuesday are expected back in that capacity, and with the Eagles' reputation for development, this can be a golden opportunity. For example, someone like Elijah Cooks, a wide receiver who didn't quite make the cut, could benefit from more time in the system, learning the playbook, and being ready in case injuries hit. The same goes for young linemen like Holland Pierce, who showed flashes of promise but needs refinement. These players sticking around could be the depth pieces that matter most in November or December when the grind of the season starts to take its toll. It's also worth discussing the defensive side of things. Players like Eli Ricks and Oshin Mathis being let go show just how competitive those positional groups have become. Ricks, in particular, is a name many fans hoped would develop into a long-term contributor at cornerback, but sometimes roster numbers don't work in a player's favor. Still, the Eagles will be keeping close tabs, and if he clears waivers, don't be surprised to see him back on the practice squad. Mathis, meanwhile, is an edge rusher with raw ability, but again, this defensive line is one of the deepest in football. Cutting him wasn't a reflection of a lack of potential but rather the overwhelming strength of the position group. The presence of Jeffrey Lurie behind all of this cannot be overstated. As owner, he not only supports Roseman's aggressive moves but also provides the financial backing and organizational stability that make